Chemical reaction. A chemical reaction is the chemical transformation of a substance to another. Practice 7. Learn how to predict the formation of a precipitate in any chemical reaction in combination with aqueous solutions in ionic compounds and using laws of solubility. Learn how to calculate the performance percentage. And learn how to identify an unknown sample from obtained results. Practice 7. Learn how to predict the formation of a precipitate in any chemical reaction in combination with aqueous solutions in ionic compounds and using laws of solubility. Learn how to calculate the performance percentage. And learn how to identify an unknown sample from obtained results.
For practice number 7, we were able to observe how certain reactions precipitated, and while others didn't, this was depending on their level of solubility, like nitrates, which are all soluble in water, and therefore they don't precipitate. For practice number 8, we could see how we could get gases such as H2, O2 or CO2 upon different reactions, and then we could observe how these gases reacted to different components such as copper or fire.
In this practice, we try to understand when a compound is soluble or not in water. We understand that a compound is soluble in water when at least 1 gram of this solubilized in 10 milliliters of water. The first thing we did was to put the different compounds on the table and see the reaction they formed. One of the reactions that we formed was the lead nitrate plus the potassium iodide that gave potassium nitrate plus lead iodide. In this case, the plumate iodide is a precipitated formed, which indicates that is soluble in water according to the rules of solubility. The drop formed by this reaction was a concentrated yellow color.
Okay, to prepare the hydrogen, we needed 0.10 grams of solid magnesium and 5 milliliters of hydrochloric acid. To do the experiment, we put water in a plastic container, then fill a test tube completely with water, and we cover it so that the water doesn't come out. We put a syringe and put the hydrogen to the test tube. Then we light a match and put it in the mouth of the tube. What we heard was a small explosion due to the hydrogen. To make oxygen, we needed 5 milliliters of 6% by volume hydrogen peroxide and 0.1 gram of solid potassium iodide as catalyst. To make the experiment, we had to light a wooden stick with the matches and then turn it off. They must be splinters. Immediately and very quickly, we dispensed 5 milliliters of oxygen from the syringe directly onto the stick. We observed that the flame became a more intense red. To prepare 50 milliliters of carbon dioxide, we needed 0.22 grams of sodium bicarbonate and 5 milliliters of acetic acid. When creating CO2, we obtained a foam toothpaste. Its color was between white and transparent. The experiment we did with the CO2 was to put the fire near the tube, and it made an explosion very similar to when a balloon full of air thunders.
We accomplished the objectives of practice number 7 and 8 successfully. Even though we had some accidents, we got to see how each reaction worked, and we did some exercise of what we learned in Chemistry 1.
The practice number 7 was really frustrating because it was on a small scale, and getting the exact amount of drops of each compound into the table was really difficult, and we had to do the whole experiment a couple of times. But it was really interesting to see how the different compounds react. This practice was very long because we had to do it in 2 classes, but the experiments were very simple to make. What I learned from this practice was to make oxygen, carbon dioxide, and hydrogen. Also, I learned the importance that this has in our life. For example, the industries can do something to try not to pollute.
I think both of these practices were really hard to make, but were really interesting as they required a lot of precision. But when we achieved them, we could really see how important reactions are and how we can use them to improve certain things of our everyday life, to improve also our quality of life, such as car motors and different things.
These practices were so laborious, although they were simple because we didn't have to do so many complicated things. I learned a lot of things. For example, I learned how to prepare hydrogen, oxygen, and carbon dioxide because I used to think that they were just created by nature. And finally, I also learned that how a precipitation takes place in a real chemical reaction.
I really like these practices, even though they were a little bit long. I like the experiments we made and how we interacted with different samples, and also because some of my partners got some acid into their hands and they colored their skin.